Okay, so what we're going to be diving into next is a whole section on solving equations. So today's lesson should be a lot of review. Actually, it should be all review, but we're going to kind of go back over our integer rules and talk about solving one-step equations, sorry, that's wobbly, using addition and subtraction. Okay, so the big thing is when you're trying to solve an equation, you have to use inverse operations to undo what's happening to the variable, right? This is what we're trying to figure out. What is x? So right now we're saying, well, if I have x and I add 10 to it, this is so wiggly, then it's 21. So then we have to figure out, well, what is x without 10 added to it? So the opposite, right? How do I get rid of that adding 10? Is to subtract it. And equations are balanced scales. So whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So that's going to cancel out. And what I'm left with is going to be x equals 21 minus 10, which is 11. And that is it. That's all we're doing. We're using inverse operations. Okay, on letter B, here we're trying to find x. What's the opposite of adding 5? Subtracting 5. Okay, this is where some of y'all struggle, are with these integer operations. So if it helps you, write it out linear, like in a row or in a line. So for example, -8 minus 5. Okay, so now I'm grabbing a different color. What we have to remember is that when you're subtracting, it's the same as adding the opposite. So subtracting 5, oh good, that pen is dead, is the same as adding negative. And now I have two negatives, so all I have to do is add them together and keep that negative sign. If you want to sing the little song, it's same sign, add and keep. So these two are the same signs, right? You have 8 negatives, I give you 5 more, so now we have -13. And it makes sense because if I plugged that in here, if the temperature is -13 degrees and then it goes up 5, we'd be at -8. Okay, let's look at letter C. We're going to subtract 7 from both sides to cancel this out. So now I'm left with x equals 2 minus 7, which is -5, right? If you wrote it out like this, 2 minus 7, keep, change, different sign, subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number, then you'll be exact. Okay, letter D, we're gonna add 9 to both sides. That cancels out, x equals 13. And then letter E, we're going to add 7 to both sides. X equals -10 plus 7 is -3. And that's it. That's all we got to do. Okay, so you undo subtraction using addition, and then undo addition using subtraction. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video, and why don't you try these last 5 on your own, and then unpause it and see if you got it right. Okay, so hopefully you did that and you completed the next 5. So let's walk through them and we'll see if you got them correct. So on letter F, we're going to add 5 to both sides. -1 plus 5 is 4. On letter G, we're going to subtract 7.2. So we have x equals, okay, and then it looks a little bit weird because you're like, wait, what is happening? Because there's decimals and stuff. So let's just review. You line up the decimals. I'm going to make this a 10, make that a 1. 10 minus 2 is 8. 11 minus 7 is 4. So x would equal 4.8. And then letter H, the opposite of subtracting 4 would be to add it. These are different signs, subtract. So the difference is 81. And the larger number, right, the bigger absolute value, is negative. So -81. Letter I, the opposite of adding 3, is to subtract 3. So that gives me x equals, if you already owe your mom $17 and you borrow 3 more, you're gonna owe $20, right? -17 minus 3, keep, change, same sign, add and keep. And then down here, the opposite of adding 11 is subtracting. So x would equal -51. Right, same thing. think about it on a number line if that's helpful, right? If we're at negative 40 and then we go negative 11, that's going to put us at negative 51 right there.